Greetings, everybody. My name is Wong, Dylan Wong, and today I'm going to review the new James Bond film, Spectre. Now, I had a wonderful time watching the James Bond movies. The Sean Connery James Bond is the best. Roger Moore Bond is fantastic. Timothy Dalton Bond is decent. And the Pierce Brosnan Bond is both great and awesome. For my opinion on the Daniel Craig James Bond, I like Casino Royale. It was a great action movie with amazing action scenes, spectacular acting, awesome villain, catchy song, and a good way to reboot the entire James Bond franchise. I must say, Daniel Craig did a splendid job playing James Bond. Now I, like many other people are, am not a big fan of Quantum of Solace. While the action scenes and Daniel Craig's performance is good, the story was weak. The villain in this movie was so bland and forgettable. And James Bond getting revenge over his girlfriend's death was weird, because James Bond does not do revenge. Overall, it's a disappointing film, and the weakest out of all the James Bond movies. Skyfall, on the other hand, is a fantastic Bond movie, and also one of my favorites. Skyfall has really cool action scenes, a beautiful song sang by Adele. The villain, Silva, played by Javier Bardem, is outstanding. It's great to see both Q and Eve Moneypenny returning to the Bond franchise, and a wonderful way to celebrate the 50th anniversary of James Bond. Now here comes the new James Bond film, Spectre. I became super excited to see this new James Bond film when it was first announced, as well as seeing the trailers. Now that I saw it with my uncle in IMAX, what do I think of this film? This James Bond movie is fantastic, and also one of the best. Now I'm going to tell you why I love this movie. The story of this film took place after the events of Skyfall. It starts off where James Bond is on a mission in Mexico to kill the bad guys. After his mission was a success, he found and stole an octopus ring Spectre that one of the bad guys wear, and later went back to London. But when he went back to London, the new current M took James Bond off the field duty. However, James disobeys M's order and traveled to Rome to investigate where that Spectre comes from. But when he got into the Spectre organization, he realized that Spectre belongs to a villain who James believed had been dead long ago. So he decided to stop that villain with the help of the French girl named Dr. Madeleine Swann. The story of this film was nothing really special, just the same old Bond movies. Now moving on for the special effects and action scenes. The special effects in this film are really good. I really do enjoy the designs of the cars, the weapons, the headquarters, the gadgets, and the costumes. The cities of London and Mexico are so beautiful to look at. The snowy place in Austria was also beautiful to look at. It's good to know they use both CGI and stunts all together. I have so much fun seeing buildings crumble and the explosions. Also, the opening sequences is very stylized and a work of art. As for the action scenes, they are spectacular. I really do enjoy seeing the car chase scenes, the gun shooting scenes, and, of course, the fight scenes. My favorite part of this film is where James Bond is fighting the big guy in the train, which was very similar to Indiana Jones fighting the big Nazi guy in the first Indiana Jones movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now let's get to the acting, directing, and music. Let's start with James Bond, played once again by Daniel Craig. He did an amazing job as always. His version of James Bond is a spy that is very smart, charming, and is good at fighting, driving cars, planes, boats, and helicopters, as well as using weapons and gadgets. He's even good at hitting on women. Daniel Craig, in my opinion, is the second best actor who played James Bond, behind Sean Connery. Now moving on to the new Bond girl, Dr. Madeleine Swann, played by Léa Seydoux, who has been in movies like Robin Hood, Mission Impossible 4, Ghost Protocol, and The Blue is the Warmest Color. She did a wonderful job playing that character who is a medical doctor that is in danger and decided to help Bond catch the bad guys. Plus, she is now my favorite Bond girl ever. Then there's the new villain played by Christoph Waltz, best known as the evil Nazi in Inglourious Bastards, that criminal in The Green Hornet, and the bounty hunter in Django Unchained. He did a good job playing that villain who enjoys whatever he's been doing, and he always knew where James Bond is, because he has eyes everywhere. He is also my second favorite Bond villain after Silva from Skyfall. The villain's henchman, the big guy played by Dave Bautista, did a good job as well, even though he only say one line. Wow, this is the first time I saw James Bond fought a WWE wrestler. There was also another Bond girl in this movie played by Monica Bellucci, who was from the two Matrix sequels. She didn't really have much to do in this film. Others like the new M played by Ralph Fiennes, best known as Lord Voldemort in the Harry Potter films, that evil Nazi in Schindler's List, Francis the Killer in Red Dragon, and the hotel owner in the Grand Budapest Hotel, Eve Moneypenny played by Naomi Harris, who was from the two Pirates of the Caribbean sequels, and Q played by Ben Whistle. All did a splendid job. Ralph Fiennes, I felt, is a good replacement of Judi Dench since Judi Dench's M was killed off in the last film. Eve Moneypenny and Q are just the people who always wanted to help James Bond, plus Q is good at inventing technological things like cars, weapons, and gadgets. I find it ironic that both Ralph Fiennes and Christoph Waltz have both played Nazis. Well, it looks like Ralph and Christoph is one of those actors who are good at playing both heroes and villains. Sam Mendes, I think, did a great job directing this movie, as he did in Skyfall. He did better than any other directors who directed the previous Bond films. The music composed by Thomas Newman was very strong and action-packed to listen to. Finally, the song Writing on the Wall, sang by Sam Smith, was a very nice song, and in my opinion, the second best Bond song after Skyfall. So overall, I had a wonderful time seeing this new James Bond movie. While it's still not as good as the Sean Connery James Bond, I love this movie the same way I love Skyfall, and I love it more than Casino Royale, the Pierce Brosnan James Bond, and the Roger Moore James Bond, even the Timothy Dalton James Bond. It's definitely better than Quantum of Solace. I also love this movie the same way I love Furious 7 and Mission Impossible 5 Rogue Nation. If you're a fan of James Bond, action movies, and spy movies, I highly recommend you should go see it. So I give this movie 4.5 out of 5 nuclear bombs.